Hello and welcome to another Bible lesson for Mules from the Lord. I am Preacher Timothy, and today we're going to talk about the three wise men and what does the Bible say about the three wise men. So there's two different stories on the three wise men. There's popular tradition and there's the biblical story. Popular tradition is what grandma or somebody in your family has told you. It's been passed down through the generations and does not follow along with what the actual Bible story tells you. So I'd like to ask everyone to grab their Bible. It doesn't matter if it's a King James, Geneva, or Wycliffe Bible, or anything older than King James. Definitely do not want to use anything newer than the King James Version Bible. There's a reason for that. So let's look at the three wise men. They are called the Magi, popularly referred to as wise men and kings. Okay. Their religion paid particular attention to the stars and gained an international reputation for astrology, which was at that time highly regarded as science. So these were, we can call them astrologers. So go grab your Bible and follow along. And even in your Bible, you probably will not see the word Magi. So Magi, or Maggie, however you want to pronounce it. So we're going to look at Matthew 2. And again, I said you can use any Bible, such as the King James, Wycliffe, the Geneva, but newer Bibles change wordings, and slight changes to certain verses can affect the whole meaning of the verse. That's why I do not like or prefer anything newer than the King James Version Bible. So grab your Bible and let's look at Matthew 2, chapter 2. So in Matthew chapter 2, verse 2, it says, "Therefore when Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judah in the days of King Herod, the astrologers came from the east to Jerusalem, and they asked, 'Where is he that is born King of the Jews? For we have seen his star in the east, and we have come to worship him.'" So these Magi, or Magi, or however you want to refer to them, these astrologers were actually looking for Jesus so that they can genuinely worship him. Herod had other ideas. He did not want to worship Jesus, but he called the astrologers and he asked them to go and he asked them about the star that appeared to them, because he had a different interest in Jesus. He did not want another king to be around. His interest was purely wrong, and he actually wanted to kill the little baby Jesus. So he was going to try to do this by having the astrologers find out where the baby Jesus was. So he sent them into Bethlehem and said, "Go ye and ask ye busily of the child, and when ye have found him, tell me, that I may also come and worship him." So he's telling the wise men that he wants to worship the King of the Jews, which we know was not true, and they will also find out that that's not true, that he had bad intentions and actually wanted to kill the baby Jesus. So now let's look at verse 9 in chapter 2. "And when they had heard the king, they went forth to find the child, and then they saw the star, and the star led them to Jesus, and the star stopped right above where Jesus was." Now we can only imagine this star had to be a pretty low star, for low sitting in the sky, for them to be able to find it, follow it, and see that it stopped above Jesus. Okay, so now let's look at this. "And they entered into the house and found the child with Mary his mother. They fell down and worshipped him. And when they had opened their treasures, they offered him gifts of gold, incense, and myrrh." One of the things that you can see clearly here is there's no number given of how many wise men it was. We only see 3 gifts, and these 3 gifts actually would dictate why people in traditional thinking refer to it as 3 wise men. Now, if we look at the fact that these might have been 3 astrologers, then yeah, it probably was 3 or a little more than 3 maybe, because not everybody was an astrologer at that time. So it was a select few that would have been astrologers or kings, or however you want to look at it. Now let's look at verse 12. "And when they had taken an answer in sleep, that they should not turn again to Herod, they turned again by another way into their own country." So they got a message in their sleep that Herod was actually seeking to kill the baby Jesus. With this knowledge, they did not return to Herod. Instead, they went into their own country and disobeyed Herod. So when we look at the 3 wise men, we can only assume that, again, traditionally, because one is of the 3 gifts, but we say 3 gifts, but we only know 3 types of gifts. Could have actually been many gifts of gold, many gifts of myrrh, and many gifts of frankincense. We do not know how many of each one was given. However, if these were kings, or if these were astrologers, and it was just a select few of them, because it would have been, again, because not everybody was a king at that time, and not everybody was an astrologer at that time. If it was just a select few, then you can only imagine that it was just a select few gifts of each one. And so I would assume that it was more than one thing of gold, more than one thing of frankincense, and more than one thing of myrrh. So let's look at the baby Jesus. You can see various pictures of the baby Jesus all over the place. We do not know exactly what he looked like. Now let's look at what did you learn in this Bible lesson. Okay, so what was the takeaways from this lesson? The Bible does not say how many wise men it was. Popular tradition and grandma say it was 3 wise men. They probably based that on the 3 types of gifts. The Bible is also not clear on just who these wise men were. Depending on which Bible you have, the version of who these men were can vary. But all versions agree that these men were wise. Whether you looked at them as magicians, astrologers, kings, they were wise men, but we don't know. Magi, or Magi, however you want to look at it, is actually from the Persian religion. That's why you won't see it in a lot of Christian Bibles. Okay, so some Bibles refer to them again as magicians, some say astrologers, some say kings. The early Persian texts that were obviously going to refer to it as Magi, or Magi, however you want to say it again. People say it different ways, but they would be astrologers, but the Christian versions refer to them as magicians. Whoever they were, they came to worship Jesus. Let's put it that way. And so why do people think 3 when the Bible does not give a number? Because there was 3 gifts. More than likely there was less than 10 astrologers in the area at that time. More than likely there were less than 3 kings in the area at that time. So I don't believe them to be kings. I do believe them to be astrologers, because they were following the stars. And so I believe that it would have been more than likely been more than 3 people. So that was our lesson for today. Hope it stimulated your mind, and I hope that you join us for more Bible lessons. I only give you little tidbits to take with you, because these little things add up to big differences when you look at them as a whole in the Bible. Thank you.